Hello, children. The holidays are upon us. As you can see, I have decorated the peace sign appropriately. All right. Hey, we're getting close to the playoffs. Who's ready for some scenarios? All right, let's get to it. See if I can keep my ticks to a minimum. Johnny Football's pacing a path into his carpet waiting to hear what's going on. But first, this reminds me of a great story. When I was 7, we went to a rug store. They had more rugs than you can imagine. It was right around Christmas, and I remember finding 12 rugs that I thought were, the coolest ever, which kind of went along with the 12 days of Christmas. Each of these rugs was completely unique. The first one was mostly blue. Was it green? No, it was blue, just like Johnny World's face right about now. I'm kidding, John. Let's get to some scenarios, huh? I'm going to start with a quick explanation of our divisions and conferences for the new owners, who are all still in the playoff chase, by the way. We have 4 divisions. They start with consecutive letters of the alphabet, beginning with E, Egregious, Fedelisk, Glasgow, and Hezbollah. We have 2 conferences with the next 2 letters of the alphabet, Icarus and Joker. The Egregious and Fedelisk divisions are in the Icarus Conference. The Glasgow and Hezbollah divisions are in the Joker Conference. Now, having 2 conferences and creating a schedule accordingly will cause teams with a winning record to miss the playoffs, while a team that's 500 or worse might make it in. If you understand how this happens in the NFL, you understand how it happens here. If you don't understand, hit me and I will explain it to you. So, to the playoff scenarios. But first, I like to recognize the teams that can get a jump on their 2018 draft strategy because they're going to be drafting high. Out of the playoffs are Saved by Odell, Wretched Horde, the New York High Risers, and Speen Rock. Speen Rock's can get to a 7-7 record, but they don't have the tiebreak against anybody. If they'd won at least one of their last 3, they might have been able to get Aaron back and make a run at their 3rd title, but they're just going to have to settle for being the only 2-time champ for now. Odell wore the collar in their division at 0-6. You just can't get any. It's not going to ever. Give those girls a hug for me, Ante. All right, the final division standings use the same tiebreakers as the NFL. You can see those at nfl.com/tiebreaker. The regular season has to be complete, though, to fully resolve the tiebreakers, but I can get you in the ballpark here. We have such parity in this league, though, it feels like we're going to go down to the wire. All right, very well then. We begin in the Icarus Conference, starting with the Egregious Division. But first, John Hendrickson just went. The Egregious Division belongs to the Sandball Kings with a win and a Biceps loss. The Kings swept Biceps and 365 in the regular season, and their division record cannot be bested. They have some issues with wildcard tiebreakers, and there's a couple paths for them to back in without a win, but we'll clear some of that up with next week's games. Cocaine Biceps needs 2 wins and 1 Kings loss to win the division. If they don't get that, they're in great shape for wild card because they've got tiebreakers in hand against the Marauders and Rude Dogs. 365 needs to win 2 and either Biceps or Kings to lose 2 and Clams to lose 1. Seems like a tall order, but the fact that they're still in it in Week 12 is amazing. We stacked the deck against expansion teams, and none of these guys seem to give a fuck. The Fedelisk finds the defending champion control at 8-4. A win in either of their last 2 games will clinch a playoff berth, and if that win is this week against Rude Dogs, they will claim the Fedelisk title. Marauders can back in without a win if the Dogs lose in Week 14. Clams are in the hunt for the division title, but they'll be a strong contender for a wild card if they win one of their last 2. They got several of the tiebreakers. Rude Dogs needs wins and other people's losses. They're an expansion team in peanut butter, but they're a 3-time champ in this format, so I advise against sleeping over there in the Fedelisk. On the other side, the Joker Conference, Glasgow Division. Both Olaf and the Blazers have punched their ticket to the second season. They're just pissing on each other right now to see who wins the division. Menahunas can still make the wild card with wins against the Blazers this week and Biceps next week, and a Blazers loss to Olaf in week 14. Another tall order, but Menahunas has put up 60 points each of the last 2 weeks, so they're up for it. Last and most certainly least is the Hezbollah division. Now, I don't give a shit about politics. Never have, never will, can't make me. And I don't mean to offend anyone, but the only thing more tentative than Logic's one-game lead, I meant tenuous. The only thing more tenuous than Logic's one-game lead is Donald Trump's grasp of the English language. Seriously, this guy has the affect of an 8-year-old. I have literally heard first graders speak more eloquently. Now, this is not a political dig in the least. This is strictly personal. This clown shoes motherfucker threw a temper tantrum and caused the USFL to go tits up, so he's been on my shit list since 1986. But I digress. Logic wins the Hezbollah with a win in either of their final 2 games. They can back in without a win if Crisis and Schmelly each lose one game in one of their last 2 games. Cuban Crisis, another one of the new guys, can win the division with 2 wins and 2 Logic losses. They can also secure a wild card with a win and a Menahunas loss in the last 2 weeks. Schmelly Ballsacks, also an expansion team. All 3 expansion teams are still in the hunt. We might get to protect 10 players next time. Schmelly has by far the toughest road to hoe to get to the show. Are you ready? They need 2 wins and 2 Logic losses and 2 Crisis losses and 2 Menahunas losses. Now this sounds lofty, but none of those teams play each other in the last 2 weeks, and if they're still alive in week 14, they can help themselves with a win against Logic in the finale. All right, hooligans, you got all that? I'll definitely do another one of these next week. Any of you that still love your mom, give her a hug as soon as possible. I didn't think I'd miss it. I was wrong. Later, ladies. Oh no, the kids. You're the kids. Later, kids.